So on behalf of the Pennsylvania Historical Museum Commission, welcome to this month's virtual collection showcase. My name is Elizabeth Berthod, and I am the site administrator at Ephrata Cloister and the host of tonight's program. Tonight, museum professionals from Ephrata Cloister, Landis Valley Village and Farm Museum, Pennsylvania Lumber Museum, Old Economy Village, and the Bureau of Historic Sites and Museums will be presenting and discussing objects from their collections that relate to tonight's theme, Mystery Objects and Oddities. Each site will have roughly 5 minutes to make the case as to why their object best embodies the theme. At the end, you, the audience, will vote for your favorite. The winning site will get to host a future episode of this program and select a theme of their choice. And I'm also going to put on the live transcript thing as well. All right, so not to show favorites, I won't pick my own curator first. I'm going to sort of go a little bit alphabetically. Sarah Buffington, how about you go first?
Hi, everyone. I'm Sarah Buffington, and I am the curator at Old Economy Village in Ambridge, Pennsylvania. And I'm going to share my screen, which is going to talk about some objects that we have that we really don't know what they are. So, mysteries of the collection at Old Economy Village. And I'm going to show a little video first so you can see this, this object that I'm going to start with first, because there's a reason for this.
Hi, I'm Sarah Buffington, and I'm here to show you some interesting things that we have in our collections. We don't always know what we have. One of the things I want to show you today is what I call a dinosaur tooth. It's this thing right here, and it is really heavy. So you can see this right here. Kind of looks like a dinosaur tooth, but guess what? It's not. I have a magnet right here. It's metal. So we don't really know what it is. It's never been cataloged, but it definitely is iron. And I have a feeling that it is waste metal from one of the local steel plants, but I don't know. Maybe someone here knows.
Oh. So here's your common dinosaur. Doesn't look like the same kind of thing, does it? Here's a dinosaur tooth, which, you know, I was looking for a dinosaur tooth online and this came up. Guess what? It's not. It's chocolate, just like my dinosaur tooth isn't the real thing either. You can buy that chocolate T-Rex tooth from the Edible Museum in East Anglia, England. So anyway, but it's not a dinosaur tooth. This is it up close. You can see all of the scaling of the sides of it. It's just a very odd piece. And as you see different steel mills inside, you can see all of the sparks going off. You can see piles of steel or iron or whatever. And, you know, it could very well have been from someone that that came and brought it to Old Economy. Like, look what I have. Hey, it's a dinosaur tooth, right? So anyway, who knows? But since I didn't think I'd take my whole 5 minutes, I thought I would introduce something else that is a little bit of an oddity at Old Economy Village. We have 18 jelly jars full of substances which we don't really know what it is. We gave it a non-catalog number, and that I found out as I was photographing isn't exactly true. These are cataloged partially, but I could not find any record for them. They were not completely cataloged. You know, there's a place where you're supposed to put the catalog number underneath. It was all prepared but who wanted to turn them upside down? But one of them is open. They're all sealed except for one. So here you can see a close-up of some of them. That's they're not so full that you can see the card inside. First, I thought these were playing cards that were cut up, but if you look closer, you can see that they are cards from a textile mill or something. And the Harmony Society at Old Economy did have textile mills. So this is interesting. So this is what I could read of these cards, because they are cut. So I could see yards, and I can see satinette and warranted number, and then you have to fill in the blank. So that's interesting. And on the other side, it doesn't really tell you a whole lot. It's written in pencil, and I saw a date on one that said December something 95. So I did a little bit of looking at these kind of jars. Oh, here's the substance. You can see I picked one from, there's some repeats, but they're all a little different. They look like they're some kind of stone. This is the one that opens, and you can see it just looks like stone. But why did someone collect them all? So like I said, I found the jelly jar that was most readable, and it's Banner jelly. And those were from the first quarter of the 20th century, which is interesting because something else happened in the first quarter of the 20th century. And that is that we had an Indian mound that was just south of Economy. And the harmonists used to go and visit the Indian mound. And it was leveled probably around 1904 when Ambridge became a town, and they were laying out all of the lots of land for people to buy. So I'm just wondering if this is why they were saved, or maybe they were just doing testing around town. I have no idea. So it's a mystery. So thank you. Next.
All right, thank you, Sarah. All right, we're going to hold questions till the end. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the chat box. But now we'll move on to Joshua Fox at Pennsylvania Lumber.
Hi, thank you. Let's see if this goes. All right. So I got what is it for the Pennsylvania Lumber Museum? We are going to be focusing on the two items on the middle shelf here that you can see in this picture. This is an item, I do know what it is now, so I'll have an answer for you, but it is something that, from what I understand, stumped museum staff for a while. It was one of those things that was just in the building, and nobody quite knew what it was. And some closer pictures of these items. I can see the two wood poles, and they have metal end, and then spikes going all up and down the length of it. And we're not quite sure, like, okay, so they're poles with spikes. Why are there poles with spikes?
Josh, I don't think your slides are advancing if you were wanting to advance your slides.
Oh, okay. So is it not coming up as advanced?
Nope,
Advancing?
nope. Carrie and I are familiar with this problem.
Okay, well. Can you see it now?
There. Now you got it.
We'll just do it this way.
Okay.
So the answer, so going back, here we can see kind of a close-up of these two poles. And if you can see the answer now, it's a pair of skid poles. So these items would have been used to help load logs up into piles. We kind of were able to figure it out by seeing some of these pictures in our collection. And you can see these two poles that have the spikes you can see him in the picture going up and down. So you can see these two gentlemen with using some PVs, or they might be cant hooks, depending on what type they are exactly, using them to move and roll this log up the pole. So the poles were used to load and unload logs. There was a spiked, this at the end is a spiked dog, which could be driven into another log to, help them from provide stability. And then the spikes were there so that the log didn't immediately roll back on top of you when you went to reposition and to get the logs further on up. And this was before the log loaders came along. This was really the only way you could get a log on and off flat cars or rail cars. But even afterwards, even after steam powered log loaders came along, these were still useful for operations where maybe you weren't necessarily right next to the rails, or just in situations where you didn't have any other means. A lot of times these men working in the woods still would have to do it by hand. And then just showing, we do have two recent donations to the Lumber Museum that show skid poles in use. The one on the left side of the screen from 2020 is an image of some skid poles being used to unload a flat car. This, we believe, we're not positive, but we're pretty sure that this was part of a trestle building operation for the Buffalo and Susquehannock Railroad, not up in New York, but not too far away from where the Lumber Museum is located. And then on the right, from just from this past year, from 2021, this donation from a collection of Drake photo collections show men at a lumber camp, not know where exactly the lumber camp was, but the man who owned these pictures, Jerry Drake, worked in lumber camps up in this area. And you can see these men are posing not only in the camp, but leaning up against one of these skid poles. Again, you can see the spikes up along in there. So that is what we have. And yeah, what is it for the Pennsylvania Lumber Museum? The answer is skid poles. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. Now I'm going to share my screen here for Carrie Moon. Let me get this up here, Carrie. Let's see if we can make it work.
Oops.
And what do we got here? And whoop. All right, can we see it?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for attending tonight, folks. I'm going to talk about Ephrata's glass trumpet, which was found here in 1995 during the field archaeology school here. The trumpet is maybe unique in North America and certainly is a remarkable thing at Ephrata, a mysterious thing. Among many things that are a mystery to us today about the cloister, this is one of the biggest mysteries. This is a photo of it found in the ground, or as it was found in the ground. We don't know really anything about it other than it very closely resembles what is known as a natural trumpet or a Baroque trumpet. It does not have any keys or valves. And basically all the notes and things have to be formed by yourself using your own mouth. Now there's one intriguing thing about this that we can speculate about. A man by the name of Dr. William Faunestock, writing in 1935, he wrote one of the very earliest histories of the cloister. It was published in 1835 in Hazard's, the title of the article was called An Historical Sketch of Ephrata, together with a concise account of the Seventh-day Baptist Society of Pennsylvania. It was published in Hazard's Register, January-June 1835. Now, Fahnestock, his dates are 1802 to 1854. He was actually a fairly young person when he passed away. And I think most of what he knew about that he relates is secondhand to him, but certainly maybe told to him by people that heard it firsthand, but that's unknown today. He apparently, one of the things he talks about in his article is a glass goblet that was given to the Ephrata community for their help in sheltering our own refugees during the French Indian War in the mid-1750s. We have a glass goblet in the collection today that was a gift of a great-granddaughter of William Fahnestock's. He says in his article that it was one of a pair. One other thing that Fahnestock, even though he seems not to have lived in Lancaster County or even near Ephrata, he died in Bordentown, New Jersey, and apparently spent time in Philadelphia as well. Although one record we do have of him is from, again, 1835, where he voted as a member at a congregational meeting. He also wrote the obituary for a woman named Barbara Kuiper, who lived here for many, many years from the 1770s or late 1770s or so, and she died here on the property in 1851. He wrote her obituary. So apparently he kept in contact with the folks that were here at Ephrata. Now he writes in his story, in his article, his sketch about the cloister, that government officials, he calls them commissioners, visited here during the French Indian War and apparently were entertained by the celibates singing. They were so charmed, that's a quote, that they requested a copy of the music to send to the royal family. And this was, quote, cheerfully complied with, unquote. I'm not sure what they complied with. I'm thinking maybe it was a tune book with music in it. The tune books were often decorated with Frakturschriften. Well, Fahnestock continues by saying 12 months later, a box was received as a return gift. The box, he knew approximately the measurements, was 3 to 4 feet long and 2 or 2.5 feet wide, containing a present. Now, the only people that knew what was inside supposedly was Conrad Beisel, the founder of the cloister, and Peter Miller, who later became the spiritual leader at Ephrata. He writes that it is not now certainly known what was there except by them. Miller buried the present under the advice of Beisel. Now, he goes on to speculate a little bit in his article that there was a hint by Miller that it was images of the king and queen of England. The king, of course, at the time was a German, it was George II. Or the images were of the Savior on the cross and the Virgin Mary, because mistakenly, they probably thought that the cloister was similar to monasteries that they knew about in Europe, and also maybe had some Catholic leanings. Well, this trumpet was found in 1995. At first, there was a lot of excitement about it because they thought maybe it was some kind of chemical equipment, something maybe to do with alchemy. Later, it was determined that it's very similar to a natural trumpet. Natural trumpets were used between the 16th and early 18th centuries. They do not have any valves, and you have to make all the sound with your own mouth. They thought at one time there was a mouthpiece that came with this, but I think later the piece that was found was not a mouthpiece, but I'm not really sure about that now. It was found in the ground pretty deep. That could be, now is in level 2 of like a fill pit. But we know from excavations here at the cloister that there were lots of fill at different places on the grounds where dirt was added, you know, when they were developing the property, that lots of fill was introduced different places. So it made it even deeper, I'm guessing. That trumpet was made from one continuous piece of glass. Next, Elizabeth.
Mhm.
And it was largely intact. I mean, the picture you saw, it was broken, but they could virtually find all the pieces to the trumpet except this area right here. This bend right here, no glass was found for that bend. So there was speculation that maybe those pieces were broken before and lost somewhere. Maybe it was even broken in transit, if this is the mysterious gift. But these pieces here were not found in the ground with the rest of the trumpet, right in through here. I'm thinking about how they made this, and I don't believe it was that difficult to make it. Now, according to the write-up about this trumpet when it was found, the tubes are very constricted, and it would have been very difficult to try to play this trumpet. Although online, if you look carefully, you can find someone playing a trumpet made out of glass. This may have been just for show, possibly. One expert thought that it was not intended to be used as an instrument. After watching a glassblowing demonstration at the Goggle Works in Reading last fall, I suspect this was made by one continuous pull, and then they bent the tube by reheating the glass and keeping it bendable, you might say. That's when the bends were put in. After they made that really long tube, they made the bends then later by reheating, and maybe reheating more than once to make the bends. So that is the mystery here at Ephrata. The mystery is, how did it get here? You know, why did it get here? Was it really a gift from Europe? Some expert thought that this was made in Europe. As far as I know, the glass was not treated or tested to see if it, you know, where it might have been made. But it's maybe one of the biggest mysteries of all here at the cloister, among many mysteries. Okay.
All right, thank you, Carrie. And I was involved with the cloister during the archaeology, and I was there when it was found, and that was quite a bit of excitement, let me tell you. It's not something you're going to come across every day. All right, on that note, Jen Royer from Landis Valley.
All right, good evening. One of my mystery items came to Landis Valley Village and Farm Museum in 2007. It's one of those pieces that when you first see it, you have no idea what it is. Maybe it's just a scrap of paper, maybe it's trash, maybe you should throw it away. You will not realize how special and unique it is and how important it was to some members of the Pennsylvania German community. This is it. And in its actual size, which is basically the size of a postage stamp. It is handwritten, it is on handmade paper, it was most likely created using a magnifying glass and a very fine quill. It took planning and a great deal of skill, patience, and faith to create. Finally, it is a religious piece, and the practice of using it dates back to the Middle Ages in Europe. This is our mystery artifact blown up. We believe that it might be the smallest known fracture, which, if you're not aware, is a type of calligraphy where the letters have an angular fractured appearance. Fractures are often described as the manuscript art of the Pennsylvania German. The piece is dated 1769 on the top and signed Katerina Stafferin on the bottom. The "in" on the end of her name means that she was married. We have not been able to locate her at all or find out who she is. All we know is that this piece originally came from Ephrata. It is the Lord's Prayer. drawn in black German script in the form of an inward turning spiral. The inscription begins at the top of the paper between the 17 and the 69, spirals around to the right, and continues inward to its end in the center of the paper. These are the photographs of the front and the back with a ruler, so you have more of an actual idea of the size. You can see very small creases that indicate that it was folded twice and probably worn on one's body inside an amulet. The wearing of an amulet was a common folk religious practice in Europe. The prayer would be carried to ward off evil and protect the wearer from both physical and spiritual harm. The prayer was not meant to be read by the naked eye or even seen. It was nevertheless perceived to have spiritual power by its physical existence and its proximity to the owner. This piece is the evidence of the continuation of these practices in Pennsylvania by the Pennsylvania Germans. Since 2007, the piece has been conserved. You can see the before and after conservation photographs here, the before on the left. We ensured that the crease lines from the folds were not removed completely because they are historically and interpretively important. We also had the item professionally framed to feel protected and make sure we didn't lose it. Now, I knew I was gonna kind of like Sarah, I have a second object because I knew I wouldn't use all my 5 minutes. So I'm gonna go in a completely different direction. This is our second mystery object. What appears to be a big old fancy rock. Nothing special at all, but it is not a rock. It is a lump of dried paint from the interior of the Lynch Wagon Shop in Bowsman, Pennsylvania. It was created by wagon painters who consistently cleaned their brushes in the exact same spot prior to changing paint colors from the late 19th century to 1920. It is a record of hundreds of colored paints used in wagon construction. The colors include various shades of green, blue, yellow, red, black, and white. And it is very heavy, probably owing to the lead content of the paint. And this is a little Landis Valley commercial. We opened a new exhibit we will open it on Sunday, the Pennsylvania Germans, Their Lives Through Color. And you could come see our big fancy rock or a lump of paint in that exhibit. So those are Landis Valley's 2 mystery items, the smallest proctor known about, and a historic lump of paint. Thank you.
Thank you, Jen. Okay, and last but not least, Rachelyerger.
All right, let's see if I can share. All right, thank you, Elizabeth. As Elizabeth said, I am Rachelyerger. I am the curator out of the Bureau office, so I work with a lot of different sites throughout the state. On my screen, you'll see 3 color photographs of a brownish red wooden post or club that has baluster style turnings on one half, and the opposite half is plain with a triangular protrusion. I first came across this artifact a few years ago while working on a collections inventory at one of our storage facilities. And when I heard of this month's theme, I thought it would be a perfect "what is it" object because I have no idea what it is. It's part of the Daniel Boone Homestead collection, which interprets the life of Daniel Boone and the history of the Oddities Valley, located in Berks County, Pennsylvania. It had previously been inventoried as, and this is a direct quote, a hokey Fiji war stick, which I honestly thought was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek name given by a tired curator. I highly doubt that this object originated in Fiji. The body of the object is rather elaborately turned for a club, not to mention that it would be rather odd to find a Polynesian war club in the collection of Daniel Boone Homestead, though, as we've seen from all the other presentations, it's not out of the norm to find some weird things in our collections. If you take the triangular protrusion away, it looks like a mid-19th century bedpost, in my opinion. I'll pull my pointer out. You can see kind of at the end here that it looks like it was cut off, and there might have been a little bit of an extension past what we see today. The triangular protrusion has a tenon, which is inserted into the post and secured via 2 nails. You can kind of see it a little bit here. There's 1 nail and then there's a nail on the other side. I spoke with a former site administrator who said the object has been on site for a long time and has been subject to much debate over the years. It was originally found in a storage barn and has no known history of use. Aside from a war club, one other theory is that it was used to stun pigs before slaughter, which is probably more plausible than a war club, but I'm not sure it explains the triangular protrusion. That still kind of stumps me a little bit. As you can see, there are a lot of stains and wear, and there are remnants of red paint, which again points to this once being part of a bed. The protrusion is slightly worn, but not enough to indicate that it was used regularly to strike something. Unfortunately, the object itself doesn't give us many clues as to its intended use. Perhaps we will never know what it's used for. I like to think that whoever made this object was being resourceful and solving a problem by making something of their own out of the supplies that they had at hand. All we can really do is speculate, or instead I turn to the audience. If anyone has any theories or suggestions, I'd love to hear them. And I know that was less than 5 minutes, but I apologize. It kind of went quick. So that's me.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So we have a couple of questions rolling through the chat box. I think we've been sort of answering them as we go. Daniel, Sarah's going to be in touch with you. Josh, I think you answered the one question about a PV and a cant hook, but you want to explain that for?
Yeah, I can elaborate a bit. So I'll share this. So if you can see this item, L69 is a cant hook. And so you see it's basically, the handle and the hook for getting leverage. And it's got a blunted end with just a small little teeth for helping to get a grip on the log. And cant hooks were first. And then some gentleman named Peavy came along and said, hey, what if I put a spike on the end of that? I can use that to get a better grip, to stick it into the ground for better leverage and the like. As far as when one would be used instead of the other, you could both pretty much use both in any situation. I believe that PV was generally more of an out in the field use for when you're just out and then moving it around. Like I said, one of the advantages of the spike is you could stick it into the ground for more leverage. And a cant hook you could use more in around a sawmill or the like, and maybe then you don't necessarily want the spike because that's one more thing to accidentally stab somebody with. But as far as really why, when you would use one or the other, like I said, they can use them both pretty interchangeably, but the PV does have the advantage with the spike for helping to actually really get in there and moving some things around.
Okay, thanks, Josh. Let's see. Sarah had asked why the glass trumpet was buried, and it's kind of anybody's guess. Carrie, correct me if I'm wrong. How long is the trumpet, Carrie? Did you say? Oh, you're muted, Carrie.
It's about 4 feet long or so.
Yeah. As far as a date, Daniel was asking about a date. We really don't, and wondered if there was any connection to Henry Stiegel's glass works. Not that
Well,
we're aware of.
The
that I
level
remember.
that was found in, and that at that particular part of that feature, there was a mixture of 18th century items.
Yeah.
And as far as being connected to Stiegel, Stiegel's a possibility. You know, there was a glassworks, you know, on the Alloway Creek in New Jersey. That was part of the name is escaping me now, but it was Worcester. It was the Worcesterburg on the Alloway Creek. I mean, that's a possibility too. I've seen green colored glass similar to that, but that's more the color of natural glass, that green color. I think an analysis of a little piece of that could tell where it's from, but some of the experts at the time thought it was European made.
Okay. So Daniel's saying for Rachel, for yours, a poster from a child's poster bed repurposed as some type of tool using the foot end rail for a pointed part.
Yeah, it's quite the possibility. It definitely seems like a bedpost of some sort, and whatever they wanted to, whatever their intended purpose, I'm not quite sure, but yeah, definitely a bedpost. The color, you know, the reddish brown color also paints a lot of beds were reddish brown. It points to that possibility as well. And Sarah, I think you said the core to get a wood sample would be a good idea too. At least give us some clues where it came from.
Okay, and Clydine wants to know for Jen Royer, where was the Lord's Prayer piece found? You know, the provenance on that.
The Lord's Prayer piece, it came from the estate of Don Yoder, who was Pennsylvania German scholar, collector, and expert. And it was found in his paperwork with paper that originally came from Ephrata Cloister. But we, again, don't know if the woman was from Ephrata Cloister, associated Ephrata Cloister. We've never been able to find her or track her anywhere.
Jen, what's the name on the bottom of the prayer there? I had looked at that and tried to research that one time.
Yeah, Katerina Stafferin. But I know, according to our records, you had no luck.
Yeah, and I believe it came from fauna stocks in the late 1800s. They had it. Now, we couldn't really positively connect it to the cloister.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Some more questions about the trumpet. Any correlation of the glass trumpet with the Franklin harmonica?
I don't know of any at all.
And then could the trumpet be a whimsy piece made to show off a glass blower's skill?
That's a very good question. And I thought about that because one time down in Wheaton Village, down in Millville, New Jersey, they were famous for the glass blowers at the end of the day with leftover glass, making paperweights with roses in them. And if you can find an original one of those, they're pretty valuable. They've been replicated now. It could very well have been a whimsy to show off how good that person was. It's very possible.
Okay, here's another one for you, Rachel. Does the poster bed item have enough weight to be used as a doctor checking reflexes?
Well, it's much too big for that, I think. It's probably about like 3 feet long.
Okay.
So he'd be checking. You might not have reflexes after he's done checking with you.
Okay. Well, these are great items, everybody. So let's go ahead, and Carrie is going to put up the poll because I've got some kind of glitch in my poll won't let me do it. So Carrie's going to put up the poll for everybody to vote for their most favorite. And if you could go ahead and launch that, Carrie.
Can everybody see it? No.
No.
Uh-oh.
Uh-oh.
Oh. Can you see it now? Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, let's see. How are we going to do this here? Sue, are you on? Let me find you and make you co-host. See if you can launch the poll, Sue.
It's up.
Oh, is it up? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't see it.
It is up. It is up.
Okay, well, everybody go ahead and vote, and Carrie will have to let us know who wins because I don't see it on mine. I don't know why.
So, Carrie, it's funny you mentioned Wheaton. I used to work there, which is why I thought of that.
Oh, did you? Sure. That's a great place.
All right, how we doing, Carrie?
Well, strictly on most votes, Landis Valley has 13
Okay,
at the moment.
all right, we'll give it a few. Vote now. It's your last chance.
Looks like we got 100%
Looks
answer.
like it, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, it's 100% now.
all right. And
It's a tie between the glass trumpet and the miniature amulet with 13 votes.
all right, a tie. Oh my. Okay, well, congratulations to Carrie and Jen, representing Ephrata and Landis Valley, two very close sites. We share a lot of common things in our collection, so I guess I shouldn't be surprised that that would happen. And thank you everyone for joining us tonight. And I put in the chat box the link for PHMC's museums, if you want to take a look at that to find some about the other museums. And I'm also just putting in the chat box the YouTube channel. So if you want to go look at this one recorded once it's up, or some of the previous collection showcases, the link for you is in the chat box as well. So I'll leave that open for a little bit. And at this point, I am going to stop the recording. Thank you all again for coming tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening.